Welcome to the Book Review Podcast. I'm excited for today's deep dive because we're looking at a book that's had a huge impact on how people think about money and wealth.
Yeah, it really has.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
It's one of those you see all over the place.
Right, like you'll find it in the business section,
Yeah.
self-help section.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the most interesting things is that it challenges so many assumptions we have about money.
For sure.
It's not about just being rich or poor. It's about the mindset.
It is. It's
the mindset that makes the difference.
And how those different mindsets, the wealthy, the poor, and middle class, how those shape our financial decisions and our pursuit of assets.
Exactly.
So get ready to maybe rethink some things about money because we're going deep on Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
One of the things that grabs you right away about Rich Dad, Poor Dad is that Kiyosaki uses this really interesting narrative device with his two father figures.
The contrasting perspectives of his own biological father, the poor dad, who has a strong academic background but struggled financially. And then you have his friend, Mike's dad, the rich dad, who's an entrepreneur with a completely different way of looking at how money works.
So it's not just about one dad being rich and one dad being poor.
It's not. It's about
From the start, right?
the philosophy.
They both have careers.
Exactly.
They're navigating their lives.
Yes.
But it's those philosophies that clash that are
And that's where those famous quotes come in, right?
Oh, yeah.
The poor dad saying, the love of money is the root of all evil.
Which we've all heard.
We've all heard that.
So many times.
Then the rich dad flips it and says, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
So different.
Totally different way of looking at things.
It makes you think.
Where do your beliefs about money come from?
Yeah, and the book isn't about saying one is right or wrong.
It's not about choosing a side.
It's about recognizing those two very different ways of thinking about money and how that shaped Kiyosaki's journey.
Absolutely. And, the book argues that financial education doesn't really come from schools.
That's interesting.
It's absorbed at home through the conversations you hear and the financial behaviors you see growing up.
That's a good point.
So it creates these really ingrained mindsets and habits.
What was the financial dinner table talk like for you?
That's a great question to think about, right?
Yeah.
Where did you really learn about money?
And then the book moves from those philosophies to the practical and Kiyosaki's experiences with his friend Mike and Mike's dad, the rich dad.
Right.
And they get into all these interesting childhood money-making schemes.
Yeah, they're not your typical lemonade stand stories.
Not at all.
The rich dad is using these experiences to teach them real financial principles.
Like that toothpaste tube recycling business.
Yeah, remember that way.
Yeah, they're showing initiative as kids trying to make some money, but
they run into a legal problem with counterfeiting.
But the most interesting part is how the rich dad reacts.
He doesn't shut it down.
He doesn't get mad.
No, he actually encourages them.
He sees the value in trying.
He sees the learning even in failure.
It's so different from how we often react to kids' ventures when they don't work out perfectly.
That's a great point.
Then there's that story of Kiyosaki working for like 10 cents an hour.
10 cents an hour at Mike's dad's store.
It seems crazy.
Hey, think, what's the point?
Yeah, but the rich dad had a purpose.
It wasn't about exploiting cheap labor. It was about teaching Kiyosaki the inner workings of a business.
To see how it operates up close.
Yeah.
Without the focus being solely on the money.
And that experience leads directly to their first success with the comic book library.
Right.
They created something that could generate income even when they weren't physically working.
And that's the essence of building an asset.
It is.
Something that consistently puts money in your pocket.
They invested in the comic books, figured out pricing, even hired Mike's sister to manage it.
And they created a revenue stream.
Without being tied to their time.
That's powerful.
And this takes us to a core concept of the book, financial literacy.
That's so important.
And Kiyosaki argues that our traditional education system fails us in this area.
It's true.
We learn job skills, but not really how money works.
You can be successful in your career.
You can have a great job.
And still struggle financially.
Because you lack that foundational understanding of money.
And one of the most crucial things is Kiyosaki's definition of an asset versus a liability.
It's a simple concept, but it can change your whole perspective.
Right. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out.
It's a practical way to look at your finances.
So many people think their house is their biggest asset.
That's what we're taught to think.
But Kiyosaki challenges that.
He says if you're constantly paying mortgage, property taxes, insurance, it might actually be more of a liability, at least initially.
It really makes you think differently about what you own.
What's really putting money in your pocket versus draining it?
And that brings us to the concept of cash flow.
The movement of money in and out of your financial life
It's not just about how much you earn, but where it goes.
and what it's doing for you.
Is it working for you, or are you working for it?
Exactly.
And that leads to this powerful idea of the rat race.
So many people are stuck in that cycle, working hard, earning a salary, but then most of it goes right back out to expenses and debt.
It feels like you're running just to stay in place.
You get a raise, but then your expenses go up.
And you're no further ahead.
It's a trap.
And Kiyosaki says that often the biggest drain on our income isn't what we think.
Yeah, we tend to focus on income tax.
But for a lot of people, it's those monthly payments.
Mortgage, credit cards, car loans.
Those are the things eating away at your cash flow.
It's crucial to really understand where your money is going each month.
So how do we escape the rat race?
Well, Kiyosaki says the key is to focus on building your asset column.
Those things that generate passive income,
Income that's not tied to your hourly work.
that's the path to financial independence.
And how does the book define wealth? It's not about your net worth. It's about how long you could survive without working.
Based on the cash flow from your assets.
So it's not just about how much you have, it's about how resilient you are financially.
And then there's that idea of minding your own business.
Which doesn't mean quit your job and become an entrepreneur overnight.
Not necessarily.
It means building your own asset column separate from your job.
You can be an employee, but also be working on creating financial freedom for yourself.
It's about having both.
And the book gives a clear breakdown of what real assets are.
Businesses that can run without you, stocks, bonds, income-producing real estate royalties from intellectual property.
Anything that consistently puts money back in your pocket.
And it's interesting how the book talks about how the wealthy approach luxury purchases,
They buy those things last.
and they fund them with the income from their assets,
While the poor and middle class often buy luxuries first,
often on credit.
which digs them deeper into the rat race.
It's a cycle that's hard to break.
Now, the book also gets into some more complex things like the power of corporations and tax advantages.
It can seem overwhelming, but it's important to understand.
The book explains how the wealthy can use corporations to legally protect their wealth and manage their taxes more effectively.
Corporations can deduct certain business expenses before personal income tax is calculated.
Which is a huge advantage that most employees don't have.
It's not about finding loopholes, it's about understanding the rules.
And the book even talks about the history of taxes and the Robin Hood theory.
The idea of taking from the rich to give to the poor.
But Kiyosaki suggests that in reality, the middle class often ends up bearing a large part of the tax burden.
It's a thought-provoking perspective.
And it highlights the importance of financial intelligence.
It's not just about earning a high income. It's about understanding accounting, investing markets, and the law.
It's about seeing the big picture.
And the book talks about the cash flow board game as a tool to develop that financial IQ.
Have you played that?
I have. It's a really clever way to learn about money in a safe environment.
You make decisions, manage cash flow, deal with unexpected situations.
And it helps you develop those financial muscles.
The idea is that by learning how money works, you create your own luck.
You're able to see opportunities that others might miss.
But the journey to financial well-being isn't always easy.
No, there are mental and emotional obstacles that can hold us back.
Like fear.
The fear of losing money can paralyze us.
It can prevent us from even starting to invest.
But the book emphasizes that everyone feels fear. It's about how you manage it.
Don't let it control your decisions.
And then there's cynicism.
That tendency to dismiss new ideas before really understanding them.
It's easy to criticize, but that closes you off to new possibilities.
And laziness.
Not physical laziness, but the complacency of working for someone else instead of focusing on your own financial growth.
And bad habits.
Like paying everyone else first and yourself last.
The book stresses the importance of paying yourself first.
Putting money into your asset column before you cover your expenses.
It's a powerful shift in mindset.
And then there's arrogance.
Thinking you already know everything.
That can be a major roadblock to learning.
So how do we overcome these obstacles and start taking action?
Well, the book offers some practical steps.
First is self-education.
Read books, attend seminars, listen to podcasts.
The book even tells a story about a real estate seminar that led to huge returns for someone.
It shows the power of investing in your financial education.
And finding mentors.
Learn from people who have achieved what you want to achieve.
The book talks about someone learning about tax lien certificates from an expert.
And it emphasizes being proactive, making offers even if they seem low at first.
You never know what's possible until you try.
And remember, profits are often made in the buying. So shop for bargains.
The book also encourages thinking big, understanding the power of collective buying power, and learning from history.
And don't forget, pay yourself first.
Put money into your asset column before anything else.
It creates a healthy pressure to find more income or manage your expenses better.
And if you work with financial professionals, pay them well.
Good advice can save you a lot of time and money in the long run.
And then there's this concept of being an Indian giver.
Which means focusing on getting your initial investment back quickly.
So you essentially own the asset for free.
It's a powerful strategy for building wealth.
And always remember, use the income from your assets to buy luxuries, not debt.
Don't fall into the trap of financing your lifestyle.
Find financial heroes to emulate.
Study the strategies of successful investors and entrepreneurs.
And teach what you learn.
Sharing knowledge helps you solidify your own understanding.
It's interesting how the preface and conclusion of the book step back a bit.
Yeah, they offer a bigger perspective.
It's not just about accumulating wealth, it's about finding your purpose.
And financial literacy gives you the freedom to pursue that purpose.
And the book introduces the Cashflow Quadrant,
which categorizes people based on where their income comes from.
Employees, self-employed, business owners, investors.
It's a way to understand your current financial situation and plan your path to freedom.
And the book suggests that the business owner and investor quadrants offer a faster route to financial independence.
It's about creating systems that work for you.
So Rich Dad, Poor Dad really encourages us to question everything we think we know about money.
To take control of our financial education.
And to build a life of true freedom.
It's a powerful message.
So as you can see, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is packed with insights.
It challenges our assumptions about money and wealth.
We hope this deep dive has sparked some new ideas for you.
And maybe even some aha moments.
What resonated with you the most?
What questions do you still have?
This is just the beginning of the conversation.
Keep learning, keep exploring.
Thanks for listening to the Book Review Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a comment.
We appreciate your support.
See you next time for another deep dive.